In previous videos, we've talked about both the problems with intercepting a glide slope too early on a precision approach and the nuances of activating vectors to final on your GPS. Let's put these concepts together in a scenario where it might get you into some trouble. We're going to apply our instrument talents at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, the Big Bravo. When you're bothering the big iron with an approach at an airport like this, you have to fly all your procedures perfectly. Right now, we're at 4,000 feet, being vectored around, currently on a north heading. We'll be told to turn left heading 270, vectors for the ILS runway 35 center. We're going to bring up the procedure on our MFD, and we'll choose to start it from RAMA, the intermediate fix and furthest point out on the approach. When we activate it, we see the points listed out from RAMA through the missed approach point at the runway and the holding fix, Bossy. Also, on the right side are the altitude restrictions for each point, going from 6,000 at RAMA to 2,100 at the Glideslope intercept. We're at 4,000. Even though it's below the restrictions for RAMA and TUFO, it's okay because we're on vectors. In fact, what seems clear is that we'll receive a vector to intercept the localizer between TUFO and days. So what many of us do is activate vectors to final, which activates the leg prior to the final approach fix, jobs. It keeps the other fixes like RAMA and TUFO, in case we get told to navigate direct to one of those. Older GPS units like the Garmin 430, 530 would just blow these fixes away. But what is gone here on the G1000 and many other modern units are the altitude restrictions for those fixes. Days has a minimum altitude of 3,000 per the approach plate, but we don't see that information on the MFD anymore. Now we get our approach clearance, something like you're 6 miles from Days, turn right heading 320 until established, cleared ILS runway 35 center. Many pilots will instinctively arm approach mode by hitting APR now. We'll see in a second why this was a bit premature, but see if you can figure it out. The autopilot captures a localizer and flies us onto the approach course. The GPS shows our distance to jobs, the final approach fix, but our next point is Days, so we decide to go in and activate the leg to that point. This is a much better move than activating vectors to final as we did before, because now we do get the altitude restriction at Days of 3,000 feet. We need to cross Days at or above 3,000 feet. We've activated approach mode, so when the glide slope comes in, the autopilot captures it and follows it down. Now, our only job in navigating is to make sure we stay on localizer and glide slope, right? Well, not quite. This is a sweltering Texas day. It's 27 degrees Celsius up here, which is about 20 degrees hotter than standard. We learn about altimeter errors due to non-standard temperatures, but we don't often learn about this application of the concept. Hot air molecules move faster, and so are more diffuse. The aircraft making changes in altitude doesn't experience the same change in pressure as it would on a standard temperature day, so the altimeter is slower to adjust to changes in altitude. This means that it actually reads lower than what our true altitude is, and the higher up you go, the greater this error becomes. Unlike with non-standard pressure, there's no way to adjust for non-standard temperature. The ILS approach is a converging approach, meaning you'll have another approach, in this case the ILS to runway 31 right, passing the approach course we're on. Radar controllers take vertical and lateral separation very seriously, and you don't want to be lower than where you're supposed to be. Shouldn't be a problem though, right? We're on glide slope exactly where we're supposed to be. Yeah, but our glide slope intercept is 2,100. We intercepted it at 4,000. There's nothing wrong or illegal with that just in and of itself, but it's about to come back to bite us. Because of the hot temps, we reach an indicated altitude of 3,000 feet, but we're still more than half a mile from Days. Note that our true altitude is higher. Look at ForeFlight, so we're not actually too high or low, but as we get to Days, where we're supposed to be at 3,000, we cross at an indicated altitude of under 2,800. Again, the glide slope has us at the correct true altitude of 3,000, but radar separation is based on indicated altitude. An aircraft flying the converging approach to 31 right is going to be on the correct indicated altitude, and we need to be as well. Radar controllers at Bravos will be all over this. Incidentally, we hear our call sign and an altitude alert. We may even get a pilot deviation for being 200 feet below minimum altitude. Again, all this happened without us ever actually being too high or low. The takeaways are to consider not using vectors to final even on your newer GPS units, as you lose the readout of altitude restrictions on the flight plan page, and more importantly, don't set your autopilot to intercept the glide slope until you're at glide slope intercept altitude. In hotter than standard temperatures, and especially at high elevation airfields, the indicated versus true altitude discrepancy can be high enough that you get a pilot deviation. If you're unsure, just cross-check your altitude with the restrictions on the plate. It's a great way to maintain situational awareness, and it'll save you some paperwork. For insights that go beyond check ride prep, check out Flight Insight Ground School today at the link here or in the description.